Do you get direct messages on social media that go directly to you? And
Of course.
yeah. And are they sometimes worse than the ones that are more public?
No, I find the public ones are worse actually.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
because sometimes there's something performative in it. You know, people want to kind of give you a shouting at in public.
Yeah.
You know, there is something hilarious about being, you know, called an airhead by, you know, Desert Boot 81 or whatever.
This is Annabel Crabb, who I'm a huge fan of, but also is one of those wonderful women journalists in Australia that we really relate to and that we really look to for some authenticity and honesty in the world.
This is Suzie Miller, famous Australian playwright, who I see in the park sometimes because we walk our dogs.
Walk
in the
our
same
dogs,
area.
exactly. In your experience, Annabel, you know, you are very, you're in the media, where is your workplace. Do you think that social media has really changed that workspace and how you present
without
yourself?
a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, when I started first being a political reporter 20 years ago, a bit more than 20 years ago now, you didn't have, I mean, you had a daily deadline in newspapers, you'd file, go to the pub, your paper would come out the next morning. You might get a few calls if somebody just disliked the way you wrote the story or whatever. You'd be much more likely to hear from the subject of the story. But, you know, the advent of social media means that there's this whole new layer now of instant feedback on what you've written, what you've done. And look, that is a good thing because audiences shouldn't be silent and they shouldn't be passive and they shouldn't be mute. But sometimes, particularly in really vexed political situations, you can find that the temperature is so high that some of the feedback really does cross into quite personal abuse, and you think, I want to stay engaged, but also how healthy is it to engage with all this stuff? Like, I never block anyone on Twitter because I think, well, I'd rather not, you know, edit my worldview from people who are uncomfortable to hear from, you know. But it does get quite full on, and not as much for me as for lots of other people. So, and I think it's also not just about gender. People of colour get a really a very different experience on social media, and so women of colour, I think, get a particularly tough go. The interesting thing, I think, about looking at the kind of feedback, particularly that women get online, is there's often a real mob sense of where that person's vulnerability is. And for women, it is, you're a slut, you're an airhead, you fucked people to get where you are, that's often a nice one. Or you're not good at your job, like...
and they're all hurting as I hear that.
And if you've ever, in your own brain, thought any of those things, then to have it sort of shouted at you, I think it can be on the right day injurious.
But also it actually undermines, you know, where we think we've got to in terms of feminism and public spaces, that you think, you know, like intelligent women shouldn't still be called airheads. Like it's crazy that still happens. Well, intelligent, you know, and it is actually. I wonder whether you agree with this. I mean, I'm starting to think that some of that trolling it's coming from a place of absolute anger that you actually have a voice, as opposed to it just being, I'm going to throw some mud because it's fun to do it. It feels like there's some vitriol in some of it as well.
Yes, yeah, I think so. My observation is just that this is kind of an evolving popular field, right? It's not governed by rules. You know how in human behaviour you've got the can I do this, and then the should I do this?
Yes.
In a well-functioning society, they should be kind of like nobly chained together.
And there's something about the lack of accountability of the person online going on anonymously that breaches kind of that contract in a way.
Probably when I first started using social media a lot, I found that sort of stuff a lot more injurious. I mean, if you have any degree of imposter syndrome, and I think the best people in the world all have at least a healthy dose of imposter syndrome. If you meet someone who doesn't have imposter syndrome, don't be friends with them. They're monsters. You know, we all have days where you think, oh God, you know, am I about to get found out for being a complete fraud? And then someone will message you on social media and say, you're a complete fraud. And you think, oh God, it's happened.
Oh God, that's like theatre.
Eavesdropping, Oh my God, right.
on opening night, if you go to the toilet, you don't want to go to the bathroom because you don't want to hear people saying,
I would taper off
sure
fluids.
I thought about that.
I thought about that.
But you know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because in theatre we invite critique and we invite audience feedback in a really strong manner because we are telling a story as a way of engaging, and I guess in the same way that journalists do, we're trying to start conversations.
Well, Suzie Miller, I give this conversation 5 stars.
So do I.